Every 4 years, the entire planet stops. Wars have paused because of it. Offices empty out. Families gather around televisions at 3 in the morning just to watch a football match. Over 5 billion people tuned in to watch the last World Cup. That is more than half the human population on Earth. Watching football. But here's something almost nobody thinks about. Why 4 years? Why not every 2 years like the Olympics used to be? Why not every year like almost every other major sports competition on the planet? The answer goes back over 100 years, and it is far more interesting than you would expect. To understand it, you first need to understand what the World Cup actually is. Football is the most popular sport on Earth. Almost every country on the planet plays it, and since the early 1900s, people wanted to know the same thing. Which country is actually the best? That question needed an answer. So FIFA, the organization that runs world football, decided to create one tournament where every nation could compete and find out. Simple idea, enormous problem. Here is what nobody tells you. When FIFA first started planning this tournament in the late 1920s, traveling across the world was nothing like it is today. There were no commercial flights. Getting from Europe to South America meant weeks on a boat. The first World Cup was held in Uruguay in 1930. Several European countries refused to go because the journey was just too long. Those that did go spent 2 weeks on a ship just to get there. This was not a quick trip. This was a serious commitment. So FIFA had to think carefully. How often can you realistically ask countries to do this? How long does it take to actually organize something this big? And how much time does each country need to find and prepare their best players? The answer they landed on was 4 years. And over 90 years later, that answer has never changed. Now here is where it gets interesting. 4 years is not just a logistical convenience. It actually makes the tournament more special. Think about it this way. If your favorite restaurant was open every single day, you might visit once a month. But if it only opened 4 times a year, every visit would feel like an event. The World Cup works the same way. The rarity is part of what makes it extraordinary. There is actual data behind this. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar generated over $7 billion in revenue. The Super Bowl, which happens every single year, generated around $800 million. The World Cup happens a quarter as often and still makes nearly 10 times as much money. Scarcity creates value. 4 years creates scarcity. But there is another reason that most people completely overlook. Players need time to develop. Football is not like basketball or American football where your best athletes can pick up the sport in a few years. To reach World Cup level takes most players a decade of training. A 4-year cycle means that every tournament, a new generation of players has had time to grow, develop, and peak. You get a genuinely different tournament each time. New stars, new stories, new upsets. In 1998, a 17-year-old named Kylian Mbappe was not even born yet. By 2018, he was winning the World Cup final. 4 years later, he was its top scorer. That kind of story only happens because there is enough time between tournaments for a generation to rise. Now, FIFA actually tried to change this. In 2022, there was a serious proposal to move the World Cup to every 2 years. The idea had powerful supporters. More games. More football. More money. Sounds logical, right? The reaction from players, coaches, and fans was almost unanimous rejection. The players said 2 years would destroy their bodies. The coaches said there would not be enough time to build a team. And the fans said it would make the whole thing feel ordinary. The proposal was rejected. 4 years stayed. Here's the thing that really puts it in perspective. Most of the players you will watch at the 2026 World Cup have been working toward this moment for their entire adult lives. Some of them have been waiting 8 years since they last had a chance. Others will never get another one after this. When you understand that, a single match stops feeling like just a game. It starts feeling like someone's entire career compressed into 90 minutes. That is why people cry when their country scores. That is why fans travel thousands of miles and spend money they do not have just to be in the stadium. That is why the whole world stops every 4 years. Because for the players on that pitch, 4 years of waiting, training, and sacrificing has come down to this exact moment. And for the countries watching them, it is the one time every 4 years they get to believe that their team might actually win the whole thing. 4 years is long enough to forget the pain of last time. Long enough for a new hero to emerge. Long enough to make you believe things might be different now. And just short enough that when it finally arrives, it feels like the most important thing in the world. That is the World Cup. If you want to understand everything about what happens inside it, from how the teams qualify to why certain countries always win, subscribe. There is a lot more to cover.